Hi, Elena here, your mommy tantrum specialist with another special episode of the podcast. And I'm making fun of myself of not being the perfect podcaster, but also to lighten up the atmosphere today because we are going to talk about something quite heavy and potentially triggering, which is our experience of giving birth to our children. So if it went well for you, your birth, then congratulations, and I'm so happy for you. But unfortunately, I have met also in my private surroundings among my friends and family, colleagues. I've heard lots of stories when it didn't go well. And I've been working now with a mom. Hey, if you're listening or watching, you see what an inspiration you are. With a mom who had a near-death experience, giving birth to her second child. And it was an inspiration for this podcast episode. And you might be wondering, how is that even related? I'm here because I'm a yelling mom. I'm stressed out. I don't have time to do everything and take care of everybody. And that's why I'm yelling at my kids. I'm here so that you help me with that. My birth was fine. Why are we even talking about it here? Well, because if you've been listening for a while, you know that I don't treat the symptom level, right? I'm not a parenting expert. I never give any parenting advice without being explicit about saying this is my experience and what worked for me and my daughter. So if you want to use it, go. But I'm in no way a parenting expert. I go deeper. Because if none of that parenting advice helped you so far and you're still getting angry, triggered, irritated, frustrated, impatient with your kids, the chances are there's something deeper underneath your anger and all of these emotions. There's something unhealed from your past, usually. Spoiler alert, that's all of my free trainings are about, to make you see, help you see, invite you to explore and uncover what might it be from your past that never got processed, that never got healed, and it's still biting you in your butt. It's still working like that time machine, as I say, because trauma, actually, let's call it what it is, a trauma. It's not just that shock trauma, something that happened too fast to you. It was too intense. You were not able to heal it. It might be also the little things that just kept being repeated over and over again. All of that on the spectrum from one extreme to another is a trauma. And if it doesn't get fully processed by your system, not only by your logical brain, like you can understand, yes, I went through something traumatizing and that's why it is. And if I understand why and what happened, maybe I will be healed. No, it has nothing to do with your logical brain. It's all about your subconscious mind and your nervous system and your body. That's why I work a lot with the somatic ways, like therapy, including your body, because there are things that happen to you that are still stored in your body, in your system. Okay. And giving birth is part of it. Okay. Because I don't know about your experience, but often, I think most often than not, it's not going the way you want. No matter how you were dreaming or how you were preparing for your birth to be. If you wanted natural birth, or if you were getting ready for a C-section, if it was already your baby number 2, 3, 4, 5, and you knew what to expect, and suddenly things went off the track as you wanted, it might have left a mark emotionally on you, on your self-esteem. Maybe there's something that you feel responsible for, like it was my fault for whatever reason, or you feel guilty for not giving to your child the experience of being birthed in the way that you wanted. Or maybe there were things that were going really seriously wrong, like with my client that was the inspiration for this podcast episode, where it was really very dramatic. And that's what I want to talk to you about, because it was not healed. It's still catching up with her. And it's like that time machine. Whenever her daughter cries, she now gets triggered again. All these emotions going all the way back to her giving birth to her daughter 5 years back. It's being re-triggered. And that's what's causing her to be an angry, stressed out mom, which she doesn't want to be. She hates it. She feels guilty about it. right? But she never got the chance to heal. So that's why we are working on it now. So first of all, this is an invitation for you to get curious. What is underneath those layers of your anger? And specifically, as we are going to talk today about your birth experience, how did it go for you? And as I said at the beginning, at the introduction of this podcast episode, my intention is not to re-trigger you, like to stick my fingers into sore wounds. But if there is a sore wound, I want to let you know that you should not be alone with it anymore. I want to see the impact of it. That it's not only still painful and hurtful for you inside, but most likely it's still affecting everything outside of you as well, including your kids, even though you don't want it, even though your logical brain understands what happened, that it has nothing to do with them, you might be still projecting a lot of your anger and pain on them. And even if you're not doing that, and I don't want to point fingers now so that you feel like even more guilty than before, but even if it's not directly going on to them because you don't blame them for that experience, but still they can feel their mom is hurt. Kids are born with the ability to read your energy because you are the most important person in their life. Their survival depends on you and how you feel, because they know, like, that's really that survival, how do you say that, like software. Like they are wired to be sensing with all of their senses, how is my mom doing? Because in nature, before we were living in a, like so well-structured society, back then, all those thousands of years ago, if the mom would reject the child would die for sure within a few hours, right? Like especially a newborn. And it happens, unfortunately, even now these days, even though there are better mechanisms to support and help. So the kids are naturally very sensitive to reading your emotions. So even though if you try to pretend everything is okay, even if you try to be the calm mom, the happy mom, they can feel it if you're in pain. They can feel it how you're feeling about them. They can feel it and see it how you're feeling about yourself, about your body, about whatever habits. They see everything. And you know that. So if it was not enough for you, not a good reason enough for you to heal your body, heal your mind and your trauma for yourself, well, then do it for your kids as well. All right. So this was the introduction. Now, specifically I wanted to talk about the client and how we are working together so that you see maybe what's possible for you too. Okay. Because if you've been to therapy, maybe you've been just to a talking blah blah therapy, which is just about tell me about how you're feeling, and you're supposed to sit there for 1 hour and just do blah blah blah, and you feel even worse when you're leaving because you remind yourself of everything sad and hurtful that happened to you. That's not the latest therapeutic methods that I'm using and my colleagues are using. Please, if you're going to a talking therapist for these kind of troubles, challenges, no. Maybe it works for some other things, but not for this. Okay, so find somebody who's doing the latest methods. What exactly we were doing with this client? So first of all, she is somebody like I used to be, and most of my clients are. So see if that's you too. She's super smart. She's so much relying on her logical brain, because there's the opposite. Somewhere in the past, already before this birth experience, she learned that it's not okay to feel. It's not comfortable to feel your body. It's not okay to feel your emotions or even more express them. Most likely, and we haven't gone that far yet, but most likely with her, but it's true with me and with all of the clients that we already finished working together, most likely you were punished in the past, in your childhood, for expressing your emotions. You were supposed to be the good girl who never has a tantrum, who never speaks up, who never acts out, who never gets angry, never yells at her parents or her siblings or anybody, who always gives hugs to everybody, even if you don't feel like this ugly, sleazy uncle. You don't want to give him a hug, but you were supposed to give a hug and kiss people in your family. Your boundaries were crossed. Like, long story short, your boundaries were crossed. You were punished for expressing your emotions. Therefore, you learned it's safer to lock them. So you were in your head from then on. You learned it's safer to be in my head and control what emotions I project out. I better store it all inside. And because it's not comfortable feeling it inside, I lock myself. Basically, like, I don't feel my body. My body is just a tool to get me through the day. Do as I say. Listen to me. When I want to push through my body, you will push through. You will not get enough sleep. I'm not going to give you enough food because I don't want to stay slim. And you are here to listen to my body. Listen to me, my body. Okay? Makes sense? That's what happens to most of my clients who are super high achievers, perfectionist controllers with a very harsh inner critic. They stay in their head. So then the head is the tool for managing all the situations. But that's where it backfires, right? It's a big strength for your career, for anything that you want to learn, where you need your memory, when you need your logical skills. It's a strength, and we want to keep that. However, see how it kicks you in your butt in all the other situations where going on with your logical brain is like using a hammer to paint a picture. Doesn't work. And that's what all relationships are about. The relationships are not logical, they are messy. That's all that your physical experience is, like, where you are supposed to use your body and everything related to your physical health. That's where your logical brain doesn't help. You cannot push through willpower, through your sheer logical capacity, like logical, analytical, planning brain. It doesn't help in these situations, right? On the contrary, it's making it less or more difficult, less accessible to heal. Okay. So this is usually the step one that I take with my clients who come to me. And when I find out there's some trauma related to their body, which, like, duh, birth, duh, of course it's related to your body and it got stuck in your body. That's the first layer that we need to work through. Not disconnecting your logical brain, but getting its permission to kind of like, hey, brain, I know you're so smart. Sit here on the side, take a coffee, read the newspaper or a nice book or watch Netflix. Let me do this work, okay? Just don't be the gatekeeper. Let me enter in because I need to talk to something that's deeper that you cannot access. Okay, so that's what we do with kind of the logical brain so that we can work with the body. And in this specific case, if it's a shock trauma, which is something happened too fast, you felt out of control, and the more you felt like near-death experience, like your life was at risk, the deeper it cut kind of in your system, the deeper mark it left, which is usually the case with the birth, right? If it was not going well, if you were feeling worried about your life, then it left a significant mark on your body as well, right? So that's when I go to work next. And because it's a shock trauma and it was too much for your system to handle within that short period of time, what I do, the process is called titration. I think it's coming from chemistry. It means like dripping, drop, 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 slowly, drop by drop. Because the trauma felt like a fire hose. Like you were literally, like, it pushed you down, it knocked you off when it happened. And still, anytime there's like a trigger, it feels like, again. So for my client with the birth of her daughter, anytime her daughter was crying, she got triggered and feeling like that fire hose of emotions and of pain again. Like, even though like now she's 5 years old, she's okay. Like, what is the connection, right? You might ask, but that's a sign of trauma. Whenever your current experience, what's in front of you, your child in front of you is going through something, but it triggers the feelings in you that are not related to your child right now. She's crying maybe because she's hungry, she's tired, whatever. Her brother doesn't want to give her her toy. It has nothing to do, it's disproportionate, your reaction, your sense of anger and irritation. If it's so disproportionate, it means that it's your trauma being triggered. You're getting the fire hose of the emotions from your past that are still there. You're trying to stuff them in with your smart brain because you don't want to feel your body. You don't want to feel your emotions. So you push them down. But the moment the trigger comes, your smart brain goes on, up, I'm out of here. I cannot handle this. And so these emotions that flood of everything, it comes back in your face, and it's like that fire hose all over again. Makes sense? That's what an unhealed shock trauma does to you. And we are talking here specifically about birth, but there are lots of other traumatizing experiences that might have happened to you in your past. The more of them there were, the more work you have to do. But the good news is that there's help. And this is what I'm just sharing with you right now, right? So first step, we talked about it, making sure your smart logical brain is not in the way. Second step, is where the trauma is the titration, so drop by drop, not the fire hose, but going through the experience very slowly. Because yes, you will go through it again, but in a way that feels safe, that feels manageable. Because the drops, it's like frame by frame, you go through the experience in a way that your system doesn't get overwhelmed, but that you can like, okay, I can breathe through it. Yes, this little tiny piece I can handle. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Okay, I can still handle this. Let's breathe. Let's feel it all in the body, and let's go tiny step by tiny step. Only once you do that, once you go through that trauma experience, tiny drop by drop, then your body is able to fully experience it. So you no longer try to push it down, you fully experience it. Only then your body can learn like, okay, that's how I process it. That's how I can breathe through it, even though I'm feeling like so, yeah. That's how we treat shock trauma of this kind, okay? That's why you need to work with somebody who knows what they are doing, who will make you feel safe. Because at any time, any point when it might get too much, they will either help you backtrack, and as if it was a movie, you just go a few steps back, or you abandon completely for that day. You leave it for the next session, and in the meantime, you need to do more work so that you're able to handle it, okay? And see if there's anything else coming up. That's the process. That's the work of the trauma itself. And then afterwards, there's a funny piece. It depends on what you believe in, and if you're so deeply rooted in logical brain and science and stuff, this might sound a little funny. But if I would ask you to close your eyes and imagine the person you love the most in front of you right now, then as if you could see them, see their face, and see their body standing, like facing each other, I bet if I asked, what connection can you see? Connecting, like energetic cord, connecting you together. Where would it go from? Where does it attach in your body? And where does it attach in their body? See it and tell me where it is. I'm sure you would have the answer, and it sounds so funny, like, right? Like you're making it up. It sounds like, how is that even possible? Well, it is. And there are cords that tie you with people, all kinds of people you can imagine. Like you can imagine the cords with your parents, with your kids, with your friends. There are emotional cords that tie you all over. The challenge here is those that are positive ones, you want to keep them, of course. That's ideally there will be unconditional love, right? Going from you to the people that you love. If there was trauma in the past, more often than not, there are cords that you don't want to keep. With my mom, my personal example, I had cords, I had to cut them. Because there were cords that I felt were not healthy. Because yes, I loved her, so there was the love going from me to her, but I was also angry with her for everything that was not going well, or where I used to blame her for hurting me for things that were not okay, right? And that to say, like, I had a happy childhood, I didn't have any trauma with my parents, But if you've heard a bit about my story, my mom being a super mom and super angry and yelling, I had some negative feelings still towards her. What's beautiful about this process that then needs to happen, like cutting cords, those that are negative ones that you don't want to be tied to other people in a negative way. The beautiful thing about this process is that you can do it by yourself. You don't need the other person for it. And so that means you can do it even after they're gone out of your life, either by distance or by just being physically gone out of this world, which was my case with my mom who already passed away. So you can still do that. You can still heal your relationship with them even after they are gone. And that step is necessary, because how often does it happen to you that you feel there's a, do you call it tug of war? Like that you're pulling on each other's end of the rope, as if you were holding a piece of the rope, and sometimes like you feel pulled by people and you don't want. Like that's what I still need to work on relationship with my brother, because so often I feel like he's pulling me somewhere. I want to stay there. I want to stay calm. And he's just like, ugh! He does something and oopa, and I'm out of balance and I'm flying in the air and I'm trying to grip everything, like emotionally, energetically, right? So I get triggered, I react, I say things that I regret afterwards, and it takes me a while, like, but go back to my center. Why I'm talking about it here? Because that's the work that we will be doing with this client about her birth, because she linked the trauma of giving birth to the relationship she has with her daughter. So there are still unhealthy, I would say, like negative side effects out of this birth. She's still feeling, that's why she still, when her daughter cries, she feels triggered by it, because there's this negative cord. She linked that trauma to her daughter and her negative emotions, right? So after we heal the experience and we do the titration, what I mentioned in a previous step, we go through it frame by frame, what happened, and she will be able to process it and feel it and let it go out of her system finally. Then we will be doing some cutting cords so that she no longer associates, links that experience with her daughter, and she can finally start reacting to her daughter's tantrums or just sadness or crying in a way of what it really is, right? Because you can think about it also for yourself. How often do you get angry with your kids when they are crying, when they are clingy, when they are not listening to you? If you've been here around this podcast for a while, you realize it's not about your kids. Because the moment when you are calm, when you are relaxed and things are going well, you're able to react in a much more effective way. You're able to help them through their difficult emotions, more or less. Not perfect, but who's perfect, right? We are human. But they trigger you when you're already, or that the same behavior, your kids reacting the same way that normally you're able to handle. You overreact to it. You get angry, irritated, frustrated, impatient when you are already in a tornado yourself. So it has nothing to do with your kids. They are just there to, like that proverbial last drop. Your cup is already full of, and then your kids come and do like, ping, the last one, and the pressure cooker goes off. So it's about healing our stuff here, right? And that's what we are doing exactly here. And maybe cutting cords, either toxic relationships, there's no question, that's an easy no-brainer, right? You get that. Like why it's good to cut cords with some people, even if they are your family. Let's clean that up. Let's cut that. But also with your own children, do you have any negative, like any cords that might be going all the way back to your trauma of when they were either when you were giving birth to them, maybe even before, maybe even during the pregnancy, or then when they were little babies? Because this is usually where the martyrdom starts. I know it started for me. During the pregnancy, I had the best time. I didn't know what to expect. It was my first one, but I was still like, I was a little bit bracing myself for what's coming. I didn't know what to expect from giving birth, but the pregnancy, I was like, that was a ride. But from giving birth, I can remember that was the first time when I started feeling that I was sacrificing more than I was ready to do. Already the pregnancy was kind of feeling like there's a little alien, like there's something growing in you that is not you, that has its own will that you cannot control. So that was already a little bit like on the edge, funny for me at times. But during the birth, I realized like, okay, like holy moly, I'm literally out of control. So my controller freaked out. My judge and all my hyperachiever will always try to prepare for any unknown situation in advance to really have the best outcome possible. Like that went out of the window as well. That was triggered because things didn't go as I planned. And the excruciating amount of pain that I went through was the first time that I felt like I'm the martyr. I'm sacrificing here for my daughter more than I thought will be necessary and more than I'm ready to give. So even though I didn't feel like I was going to die, I was close to that. But it was something that I had to work with afterwards because I was not ready to feel that way. And I felt resentful towards my daughter afterwards, that it cost me so much pain. And I did feel some compassion for her because I was like, okay, I can imagine if this was tough for me, it was probably even more tough for you. So I felt sorry for her. But at the same time, I felt like this experience we had together, I was not ready to give out so much. And if you're a mom, I don't have to explain to you, it went only down the hill from there because the birth is only when the fun starts, right? And then all these sleepless nights and breastfeeding and all the pain related to that. And like, I don't have to tell you, you've had your experiences. But that's where I want you to share with me. So what were your experiences? And do you notice some of those like threads, the red thread, like the common signs that I mentioned? First of all, staying in your head, cutting off from your body. That would be a sign of something that happened in the past that negatively impacted your body. And that would let me know that there is something that should be worked on because it's still kicking in your butt. So that, second of all, was what I just mentioned. Like, are there any cords you might be cutting? Any toxic relationships or any negative cords that you have with people that you otherwise love? But it's like this, there's a piece that triggers you, cutting cords. And then the last one that I just mentioned, that I forgot. That's okay. Perfectly imperfect. Let me remember. That's the disadvantage of working out of my head, just saying what comes to my mind and not taking notes. I'll put it in the description. Okay. But I wanted to hear about your story. Yes, the martyrdom. That was the last one. I wanted to hear about if you felt like you were the victim of being a mom, basically that you were giving out too much. And when that started for you, when did you realize? Okay. Because all of this podcast episode and this entire podcast and all of my work is not to have a pity party. I do talk a lot about my pain and the pain of my clients, but that's just to show you that you're not alone. It's not your fault and there's help. I got out of it. My clients got out of it. Many of them now, these new ones that I'm working with, they are slowly making progress as well. There is a way. So if you feel like you're ready to get help, then just contact me. You have all the social links and my email address everywhere. So just reach out to me with whatever way it's comfortable to you. And you can either share your story if you feel like we've built enough trust already that you feel comfortable telling me about what happened to you, or just type in ready. And I'll get back to you to ask a few more questions to see if we would be a good fit to working together as well and you getting the help from me. If not, if I do my little checks and I feel it's not something I can help, then I will either send you, like I can point you to another direction if I feel you might need like really a trauma specialist or a different kind of specialist. I'm going to help you with that because I don't work with, I don't take all the clients. I don't take everybody who comes to talk to me unless I feel confident that I can help them. Okay, so that's why at the beginning, when you reach out to me, I might come back asking a few more questions just to see if I can help. Okay, makes sense. So Taking a deep breath in. I hope you didn't get triggered too much about your birth experience. In any case, maybe that's where we can finish. If you can close your eyes, do it. If you're driving car or operating any heavy or dangerous machinery, don't do that. Okay. But if you can, close your eyes just for a few seconds. Take a deep breath in, connect with your heart, feel your heart. Think about your kids and everything you love about them and why they are the joy of your life and you would never do it otherwise. And maybe stuff happened in the past, but they are worth it in the end. You know it deep down in your heart. You love them so much and you're becoming a better person thanks to them. They are your teacher. They show you. They're so good at pointing out where we still need to work on. My daughter is my best teacher ever. And that's just one of the ways why I love her. And I'm sure you love your kids. They are worth it. That's why we are doing all of this learning and healing for them so that they don't have to go through the same. So just in your mind, send them your deepest love wherever they are. And then one more deep breath in, deep breath out. I hope you're ready to continue your day. I hope this was helpful. Let me know, send me a message. And I'll be thinking of you. I cannot wait to hear from you. And if this really resonated with you and you'll be reaching out to get help, I cannot wait to see what will become possible for you. Once that heavy load that you've been carrying on your shoulders and in your body, when that's gone, imagine how that's going to feel. Like you'll be able to breathe. There will be less heaviness to carry. Imagine what that's going to do for you. I cannot wait to help you with that. So take care, Supermom.